On January 25th, there's a full moon in Leo, making an inconjunct to Saturn. Also, Pluto has gone into Aquarius, and that's going to have far-reaching consequences. What does that mean for you? That's what we're going to talk about. Hi everyone, I'm Donna Stellhorn, your practical astrologer, and today we are talking about the full moon. It's at 5 degrees of Leo. We're going to do a short overview, and then we're going to go sign by sign. Besides the full moon on January 25th, on January 20, Pluto goes into Aquarius. And even though astronomers out in the world downgraded Pluto to be not a planet anymore, Pluto really packs a wallop. And so it's something you want to pay attention to, especially something as significant as it changing signs. Now, Pluto did last year in 2023 go into Aquarius just briefly. And we saw some of the results of that with, AI and self-driving cars and, all kinds of things. So now Pluto is going to go into Aquarius and it will be there for a few months. And then in the fall, it's going to go back into Capricorn briefly. And then in December, it's going to move forward into Aquarius and it's going to stay in Aquarius until 2043. Now, wherever Pluto is in your own chart, that's actually where you feel overwhelmed, where you are working to get control on something or of something. And that can be, if it's in your first house, it would be control over your physical self. And you might do that through diet or exercise. Or if it's in your second house, it would be trying to get control over your finances and the big swings in your finances, or how to amass more money, such a large amount that it seems unwieldy. So we can spend our whole lives trying to get control of the different aspects of what Pluto is affecting. But transiting Pluto is a little bit different. So transiting Pluto, first of all, takes a really long time to hit your chart. So that means that if Pluto is aspecting a planet, it could do it over a 2-year period. Now, Pluto wants to help us change and grow. I mean, actually, all of the transits are trying to help us to grow. Pluto just has a specific method of doing that. So if we can compare it with, say, Saturn, like Saturn also wants us to grow, and it does that through giving us obstacles or hard work, and over time, we overcome those and we become stronger. So think of Saturn like running up a hill. And so it's very, very tiring, but you're strengthening your muscles. And if you do that every day, one day you reach to the top of the hill and you have this beautiful view and you have success. Ta-da. Now, Pluto transits are a little bit different. So Pluto is, if you remember the Forrest Gump movie where little Forrest, he has the leg braces on and so he doesn't walk very well, and then one day he's chased by some bullies and he has to run, and in his running the braces come off of his legs and he finds out he can run. And so that's really what a Pluto transit is, as over this 2-year period, as it's hitting a planet of yours, you are encouraged by Pluto, i.e. chased by bullies, and that causes you to let go of whatever false crutches you've been leaning on. Pluto will take away the things that are deemed unnecessary by the universe. And so what should have been left behind or is dead or is decaying, those sort of things Pluto has you let go of, even though we might be clinging to those things thinking we really, really need them. Now, with Pluto going into Aquarius, it means that it has a very different energy. Well, mostly different, because Pluto in Capricorn ultimately is ruled by Saturn. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, but Aquarius is co-ruled by Saturn. So as much as we would like to think of the Uranus qualities of Aquarius, which is, innovative and exciting, and, it's like bringing everyone together to hold hands and sing a big song, it's also Saturn, and that's the Saturn side of Aquarius is the science side, the technology side, the more detached side, kind of the colder in the weight lab coat sort of, I've got a clipboard here and I'm just going to write down your results, not feeling maybe so connected, maybe not feeling about it at all. And so when we combine those energies into Pluto and Aquarius, we get a big transformation of how we deal with technology, how we deal with groups, how we think of ourselves as being part of a friendship circle or feeling isolated. And we are going to take, at times, a very scientific view of this and say, oh, I seem to be doing such and such. And therefore, we get to grow. We get to figure out what is useful for us and what is no longer useful. And whatever's no longer useful, Pluto's going to take away. Now, as I said, this is not a fast transit, so therefore we have about 20 years to get all of this right. So I'm going to do more videos on Pluto and Aquarius, but I want you to know that most of the things that's going to happen, we're not going to even experience until like 2035, 2040, because Pluto takes so long. We're still going to be just figuring out what Pluto in Aquarius is going to do. And oftentimes we astrologers, we look back in history and say, okay, when Pluto was in Aquarius before, what did it do? But we have a unique situation with Pluto because the last time it was in Aquarius, we didn't know about it. We didn't know Pluto existed. And so there's no writings and no firsthand observations of, hey, this was Pluto in Aquarius. So this will be an interesting time. But one of the ways that we can figure out how we are going to navigate Pluto in Aquarius is to figure out how we did Pluto in Capricorn. And so Pluto went into Capricorn on November 26th, 2008. And so if you think about how much your life has changed between 2008 and now, how much you've grown, what you thought was really necessary, and what you've let go of. I mean, and we've seen like institutions that we thought were going to be with us forever, things like Lehman Brothers or Bear Stearns or Sears. We think of those things, and actually, I don't know if Sears is still around. I apologize if Sears is still there. Maybe it's just online. I know the store closed. We think about the things, like we look forward and we say to ourselves, oh my gosh, what's this going to be? But if we look back, we say, yeah, we took each of these things and we transformed our lives. We let go of a lot of things and we continue to move forward. And that's what Pluto's here to help us do. It's here to chase us a bit, and then the braces that we no longer need come off. So again, I will do some more videos on Pluto and Aquarius and talking about what we can see in a more specific way and how we can capitalize on some of those energies. So let's talk about the full moon. So, of course, a full moon is the culmination of energies where you've spent the last couple of weeks getting ready to maybe launch something or, go out with somebody or, it's a time where you want to say, okay, now we can celebrate. Now we can have the party. I've made the hors d'oeuvres, I've cleaned the house, I've done all of that. And normally a Leo full moon would be a big party. But unfortunately, this one's making an exact inconjunct to Saturn. And an inconjunct is an interesting aspect because it is a real incompatibility of energies. It is where it's kind of like two people who have nothing in common now are sitting together at the party and don't know what to say to each other. Or because Saturn is about discipline and hard work and effort and things like that, it's kind of like going to the party when you realize that you have your term paper due at 8 a.m. the next day. Like, how much fun can you have at a party when you know that you should be doing something else? And in that moment, because it's an exact inconjunct, you suddenly are calculating in your head that you're paying $30,000 a semester, and that's $2,000 a credit, and then you're thinking, oh my gosh, what is it, like $285 a day? It's just too much. And so no fun at the party. Now, the interesting thing about an inconjunct is you can just go and do all Saturn, and then the party is going on, and you can hear it in the background, and it's a little annoying because you're sitting down and working on your stuff. And because the inconjunct is two such divergent energies. There's no way to combine them. You cannot have the party in your room while you're studying. Okay, in this video, we are doing tropical Western astrology. It's a good idea to listen to your rising sign. That's going to give you the most accurate view of what the next 2 weeks has in store for you. If you don't know your rising sign, you can send me your birth information and I will send you a PDF of your chart. There's a link in the description. If you would like to know more about what 2024 has in store for you, I do readings. I also have a video course called Finding the Hidden Money in Your Chart. This course is right now at a very low price. Price is going to go away pretty soon. So I want you to go out and look at this. There's a link in the description. This is for people who are very interested in what the financial aspects are in their chart. This is a course where you are learning some astrology. So if you don't want to learn astrology, but you still want to know, I would suggest the reading. All right, let's go sign by sign. Okay, Aries, you're doing this full moon, lighting up your house of fun, as well as creativity, risk-taking, things that are going to express who you really are. And so this is the kind of things that you want to do. You're feeling very pulled to do these things. And this could be something you've been working on for a while that now you want to launch. Now you are getting that inconjunct to Saturn in that hidden house of yours. And that means that the responsibilities or the things that are nagging at you are a little undefined. You might be doing the fun things and just feeling like you should be doing something else, but you can't really put your finger on it. Or perhaps you are feeling like those responsibilities don't have a really strict deadline, and so why bother with those? And so there's something that's a little bit hidden about it. It can also feel like there is some sort of secret authority, like some sort of spiritual father kind of looking over your shoulder saying, you're not doing enough, keep pushing, etc. So there are ways that you can use this energy to your benefit, but I think probably the best thing to do is to try to get that part that's nebulous to be more clear. Now you can do that through journaling, or you might just write down your question and put it on the bedside table and see if you get an answer in the morning. And that is, what should I be working on? What would be the thing for me to focus on? Am I holding back in some area where I should push forward? Am I doing something to distract myself so that I'm not seeing what I really could be achieving? Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, even though the sun is not making an aspect to Mars, the moon is there. It's lit up. And so it's quite possible that somebody is asking you out, or that you're meeting someone who potentially could be a love relationship. And so consider going to places and meeting new people, and doing that all with that inconjunct to Saturn. So maybe try to find some way that you could then talk about business, or that you get a little business done before you go. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is not making an aspect with Mars. So they are in the same sign, however. So it feels like the two of you are working together, but it's not a strong enough connection right now to work out real problems. So this could be why you have that Saturn in the hidden house, because maybe a problem is brewing and you haven't quite formulated the words to express to your partner. So these energies will line up better in the future, but right now it looks like you're doing okay. It's just that maybe problems will come up later that could be addressed. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Venus, which is the most elevated planet right now. So first of all, that means that money is taking a higher priority in your life than usual, but it also means you have more money opportunities because you're more visible. So this is really good energy for looking for a new job, or expanding your business, or getting with somebody and sitting down and talking to them about business funding, or maybe starting a business with them. So you have some really good energy here for taking action on getting more money. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Venus is making a semi-sextile to Pluto. And that means that your finances need a little bit of your attention. Things are changing and your finances are ruled by Pluto. So there are some shifts that are necessary if you really want to capitalize on some of the bigger things that are going to be happening. Now, of course, as we said, Pluto is a very, very long transit. And so that will give you plenty of time to learn the new things, etc. But right now, over this next 2 weeks, you do have an opportunity to make a little bit more money than usual by paying attention to some of the details. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, Venus is making a sesquiquadrate to Uranus. The sun, which is part of the full moon, is sitting in that house, and Pluto is coming into that house. So there is a lot going on with your company and maybe the industry itself. There could be big changes, and you have to take these into consideration. A sesquiquadrate means that you could potentially get a raise, but there are going to be some added baggage with it. You're going to get some additional responsibilities, or they may even say there are going to be bigger changes down the road so that they are trying to lure you into staying by giving you more money now. So you do want to look at, what the whole of your company is doing and how it's going to affect you. Consider, just asking yourself the questions of how is the new technologies going to affect my industry? Or if you want to do something else, taking a small raise now, is that going to make you feel like you're locked in? Okay, Taurus, you're doing this full moon right at the base of your chart, so it's lighting up your area of home and family. And so you might be wanting to, just stay home and be with the folks and the kids and just, have a little potluck and things like that. While at the same time, that inconjunct to Saturn is up in your house of the future. And so you may be considering, long term, what's going to be happening. And there's this nagging feeling that maybe you should get up to speed in some sort of area of technology, or that you need to connect more with the community and, get out of the house more. And so there is this sort of push-pull energy over this time where maybe you want to stay home, maybe you want to get out into the world. And I recommend trying to do a little bit of both. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury is not making an aspect with Venus, but they are in the same sign. So there is still some energy here of kind of, you're not quite in the right place at the right time, but you're getting there. Or more, that you could meet someone for a friendship, or someone that is so intellectually interesting and stimulating that you love talking with them, even though maybe there's not the chemistry that you're looking for. So this is still a time to get out. You can meet people at this time, and maybe a relationship would grow out of that, but you could meet some friends and acquaintances for something that's more mentally stimulating than maybe for the heart. When it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making a semi-sextile to Pluto. So there are some small things that you can work out now to help strengthen the relationship, or you're coming together to work on some smaller projects, and that is helping you feel more bonded to your partner. So we have some pretty good energy. There's a little bit of slight irritation, maybe like you're putting together a piece of furniture and they don't like to read the instructions, but you do, or something like that. So, but these things are not monumental. They're small little things. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Mercury, which is in your house of education. So that means that looking at whatever materials you are from a standpoint of being a student, of saying, okay, I really want to learn this. Recently we have all of this release of Bitcoin ETFs. And so are you familiar with what an ETF is? And then what is held in these various Bitcoin ETFs? And so thinking about it from an education standpoint, the alternative of that is to look at what you might teach someone, because if you can teach it, then you really, really know it. And so if you were to explain to someone your money strategies or how you make more money, etc., then you're really getting all of the fine points to it and understanding the process of it and the steps, etc. So I think that if you can approach it that way, you could really benefit during this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to money from investments or from business, Mercury is not making an aspect with Jupiter. Mercury's just gone on. So it is that whatever you've started is continuing to go. So you're making about the same as usual. It's just right now things are in process. And so that means you have to finish what you're doing. And then when this energy lines up to make an aspect, then you have the bigger paydays. But right now, things are going along as usual. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that's like a paycheck, Mercury's not making an aspect with Neptune. Also, your career is going to get affected by Pluto because Pluto is crossing the very top of your chart, which means that you need to really seriously look at the industry that you're in and the company that you work for and ask yourself how they could be affected by the changes that are going on in the world. And of course, these changes are not going to happen overnight. They could take years to manifest. But, Taurus, you like to be prepared. You like to think in the long term. So that's why this is a good idea to start to think and ask yourself those questions. So overall, though, the answer is don't try to push for a raise over this next 2 weeks. Wait till you get an aspect. Okay, Gemini, your full moon energy is happening in your area of activities, so you're probably thinking of maybe doing something fun, like going skiing or jumping on a plane and going to someplace warm and sunny, while at the same time you're doing that exact inconjunct to Saturn right at the top of your chart, which is about career and that you're striving for something and that you have to be there to make sure that you're at the meetings so that your work has your name on it and so forth. So you are, kind of going back and forth between, you want to have fun and that, you need to finish this project and you need to show up and or if you're looking for a job, that you need to push in that area. And just a little warning, because if you are going to go on vacation, but you did tell the boss that you're out sick, they are watching your social media. I mean, with this combination, you could get a call that says, hey, I thought you were down with the flu, and yet I see you're skiing. So just to be careful. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is not making an aspect with Mercury, but they are in the same sign, and they're in the house of intimacy. So it's quite possible you could meet someone with whom you have good chemistry, where there's a physical attraction, but maybe you're not quite out of your relationship yet, or they're not quite out of their relationship. The timing's not quite here yet. So you may have to wait a little bit until you can actually see this person for real. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, there's no aspect going on between Mercury and Jupiter. So everything's just going along as it has been. That means that, if you have problems and you want to work those out, probably best to wait outside this 2-week period. On the other hand, things, since they're going along as they have been, that can give you time so that you can go focus on other areas of your life to work on those. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the moon, which is in your house of ideas. And this means that you're going to have lots of ideas. And because it's doing that inconjunct to Saturn, many of these you won't feel like you can implement, or they sound really hard to do, or they're going to be a lot of work. But it is important to write them down anyway, because this aspect, as this energy shifts, you may find that it's not as hard as you think, or that someone steps up to help you. So as you are just going through your day over this next 2 weeks, write down the different ideas that you get, because you could have some concepts that come to you that are truly inspired. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, you have a very strong money house with Venus, Mercury, and Mars there. Plus, the moon is making an exact inconjunct to Saturn. So, and an inconjunct, as we've been talking about, is not the easiest of aspects. However, it is an aspect, which means that the money that's out in the world can come into your bank account. So, but to do so, you have to make adjustments. That means you may have to adjust prices for customers, or you may have to rebalance your portfolio. You may have to make some decisions, or you may have to do things that are bigger adjustments than you normally do, but you could make more money than usual over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, the moon is not making an aspect with Mars. I think that it might be difficult right now to secure a raise. So if you are in the process of negotiating for a new job, you may only be able to get something where they say, yes, we'll look at how much you're making in 3 months, but see if that could be written into the offer. Otherwise, if you have the opportunity to wait for a couple of weeks, if this is you already have the job, then just bump the meeting out to outside of this 2-week period, so the energies will, I didn't check, but they are going to line up in the future. Okay, Cancer, this full moon is lighting up your house of money, and so that means that there could be some big money opportunities. Of course, very recently, Bitcoin went to ETFs. I think there are 11 different ETFs. And maybe that's something you're thinking about adding to your portfolio. Maybe you've never done an ETF before, and so you're learning about ETFs and what those are involved in, which brings us to Saturn. You're making that exact inconjunct to Saturn in your house of education. So it's indicating that just jumping on the bandwagon of something is not a good idea. It is important to go do that inconjunct and learn about what it is maybe that you're going to be investing in or spending money on. And that includes even if you're just buying something, go and do the investigation, look at the reviews, etc. So this inconjunct is in your house of education. So this may also mean that you are spending so much on education that you can't really afford to buy some of the stuff you want, or that you need to go make some money teaching, and that will bring you more financial opportunities in general. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the moon's making an opposition to Pluto. And that's a very interesting aspect because now Pluto is in your house of intimacy. And so you could meet someone for a love relationship where you have a physical attraction, where there's good chemistry, and there is a sense where you could feel open and connected with that person enough to be intimate on multiple levels. So you also have a great house of relationships this time. So if you've been looking for somebody, this is the time to really make the push and go do some social things to make some connections. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, you do have a great house of relationships right now, but the moon's making an exact inconjunct to Saturn. So that means that there is something that needs to be worked out, but you can work it out. And the reason that it has been a problem, which maybe you are realizing at this moment, is that your partner is seeing the situation entirely differently than you are. And it is so different that you're not finding a way to communicate about it. So what needs to happen is you have to put yourself in their shoes and start to say, okay, if I was seeing this totally differently, what would it be? And ask them to do the same. If you can even switch roles and just like do a little bit of a role playing where you say what the other person says back to them, and try that, because there's a way to work out something and bring the two of you closer together. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the sun, which is in the house of investments and business. And so it's in a money house. That's really good. It says that there may be some passive income sources to consider right now, or some investments to consider, or starting a business or expanding your business. So there are some major opportunities. There also could be opportunities for funding a business. Now, when it comes to investments and money derived from business, the sun is not making an aspect with Uranus. And so, but the sun is in a money house, Uranus is in a money house. So a lot of things that you're doing, it's probably going to bring the payday outside the 2-week period. So even if somebody says, I'm going to pay you on time and it's within the 2 weeks, they may not make it. That extra money would be coming outside the 2-week period. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, the sun is making a semi-sextile to Venus, and the sun's in a money house, and Venus is very nicely placed in that area of relationships and partnerships. So this would be approaching your boss as, I'm a partner in this. I'm taking responsibility for my areas, and I want to grow with the company. And because this is a semi-sextile, there may be some small hoops to jump through, but you could end up making more money than usual or gain a raise over this 2-week period. Okay, Leo, this is your full moon. And so you do want to celebrate, you want to have some fun, you want to be out there, maybe connecting with people or go out with your partner. And you're doing that in conjunct to Saturn. And it is this idea that, everything costs a lot, everything has strings attached. Anytime you're feeling like even asking someone for a favor, you're kind of considering what you're going to owe. And so that is kind of putting a little wet blanket on the fun. So the trick with the inconjunct energy is to go out and really focus on, getting your finances in order, understanding what your debt is and your interest rates, maybe moving some things around to get a lower interest rate. And then, concentrating on that. And you may not finish that, but if you do some really focus energy on that, then you can say, all right, I have the evening off and I can go have fun. So that's the way to use that energy. When it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the sun is making a square to Jupiter. Didn't know which one to say first. And so plus the sun is in the house of relationships. The full moon is lighting you up. And so this is a really good time to meet somebody new. And so try to get out into the world or accept, the offer of somebody fixing you up on a blind date or say yes to a date. Because you're very noticeable now. And if this is what you're looking for, you are in really good energy now for meeting someone. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the sun's not making an aspect with Uranus, but the sun and full moon are lighting up those houses. So I think your relationship could be going along very well, probably better than usual. There's not too many things like don't bother trying to bring up something or fix something at this time because you're not doing that type of energy. You're doing energy of just kind of playing together, of having a good time, of remembering why you're together. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Mercury, which is sitting in your house of work, and it's conjunct Mars. So it says take massive action. And it is in the house of daily routines. So that means figure out what you can do every single day. There was a great video that I watched recently. I'll put a link in the description, but it was where he had taken the 7 habits of highly effective people. There's that 4-block grid, and he had, talked about how there can be a place in between where you take the things that are important but not necessarily urgent and move them to some urgency to help you get longer or bigger projects done. So I will put a link to that in the description. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Mercury is not making an aspect with Neptune. And so you're making about the same as usual. This is a good time for planning or for doing processes or solving small problems or things like that. And then the increase in finances from that work comes outside this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, Mercury is making a conjunction to Mars in your house of work. If you do say, I do want to do more in my job and I want more responsibility, oh my gosh, your boss is going to be so happy and you could get a raise. You could also find a new job during this time because the whole energy about you looks like you are ready to work, and that's what bosses love to see. Okay, Virgo, you are doing this full moon lighting up your house of time to yourself, of solitary pursuits, of self-care, of escaping from the normal mundane stuff. And it's doing an exact inconjunct to Saturn in your house of everybody else. And that's all the people who are knocking on your door, sending you emails and texting you and saying, either come out and play, or you got to get back to work, or you owe me this or that. And so you're being pulled from your special time where you might be meditating or, just doing some self-care into the harsh light of everybody else saying, like you promised you would do this for me, you got to help me move a sofa or something like that. So that's where you're going to need to split up your time. And instead of telling the entire world no, or instead of telling yourself no, you have to find a way to do a little bit here and a little bit there, because this is not something you can combine. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, even though Mercury is not making an aspect with Saturn, you have Venus, Mercury, and Mars in that house. And Saturn is in your house of relationships. So there is some good energy here, but what it's saying is take massive action. If you want a love relationship, that means go be on the sites and, actively be participating and communicating. Update your profile, put up new photos. It is about getting out into the world as well, going to events, going to, parties or conventions or any place where you can start to meet people and interact with them. Taking massive actions is the solution. And even if you don't have dates during this time because there is no aspect going on, this is a time where you could meet someone that could blossom into a relationship when this energy lines up in the future. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury is not making an aspect with Neptune. And so things are going along. It feels like the two of you are focused on getting some stuff done, paying a lot of attention to the kids, doing things that are very responsible, and the party just seems to wait. And so the energy here is you're both working hard at something, not necessarily on the relationship because there's no aspect, but you're working together as a team. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Venus, which is in your house of creativity, risk-taking. This is about exploring what would be fun, what would be interesting. And so looking at some of the new things that have just happened over the last few days, which is, like these Bitcoin ETFs, is this going to be something for you? And so maybe exploring that, or looking at some of the new innovations that have happened in the last 20 minutes with AI. Is there something that could be applicable to your business or to your life in some sort of creative fashion? So you have all of these different money-making options coming up when you think about them from a creative standpoint and you step out of your comfort zone. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Venus is not making an aspect with Mars, but they are in the same sign. So it feels like things are going along as usual. If you make more, it's a smidge more. You're going to make more money in the future. These will line up pretty soon. But right now, things are just kind of chugging along as usual. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, Venus is making an inconjunct to the moon. I had to check. But it is. And so with the inconjunct to the moon, the difficulty is that they may come back at you with something that surprises you, to say, this is the reason we can't give you a raise, surprise. And you could surprise them by having an answer to whatever it is that they say. So think of some general answers, do some practice interviews with some friends, especially with gotcha questions, like, why do you think you should have a raise? Or what's the drawback of giving you a raise? Or something like that. Like, be prepared for one of those types of questions and you could gain a raise. Okay, Libra, you're doing this full moon lighting up your house of friendships and community and, exciting things, doing something different and fun. And it's making that exact inconjunct to Saturn in your house of work and daily routines, and how the daily routines that you have for work and for your health take up your entire day. And so during this time, you may be struggling with your schedule, that you had, worked to manifest enough work and, financial opportunities, and, that you got a great personal trainer and all that. And now you're so busy, you don't have time for the serendipity of a friend calling and saying, hey, let's go to a concert, or, let's go to lunch. So that's where you're kind of struggling. And so you may have to look at your schedule and put some new blocks of time in there that allow for some play. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is making a sesquiquadrate to Uranus, which is interesting enough. And then it's this full moon energy because the sun is sitting there. Plus Pluto is going into this house. So all of this to me says that the person that you meet during this 2-week period is so different than you've ever experienced before. And that can make it worthwhile right there. Like if you have struggled to find a great match, if you have struggled to find someone you feel connected to, go out with a person that is so different and or do something different about it. Like go to a new place to meet someone, or allow someone to fix you up. Do something really out of the box, and you could meet someone that you have a great connection with. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, there's no aspect going on between Venus and Mars, but they are in the same sign, and actually in your house of home and family. So it's like you're together and everything's comfortable, and you don't have to work on anything right now. You can sit on the sofa and you do agree on what to watch, and maybe you don't agree about what you're having for dinner, but you both have a plate of food in front of you, and so everything's okay. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money both from Pluto and the co-ruler Mars. So it's so interesting. So for the last, 20 years, I've been telling you guys that Pluto is going through your house of home and family, and so therefore maybe you're doing home business or real estate or something like that. Now Pluto's moved, and now Mars is in your house of home and family. So apparently there's still some stuff you can do when it comes to looking at financial blocks that you got in childhood, or maybe pulling energy from ancestors to say, hey, I need some help with business. Maybe you have an ancestor who had a business. Well, that's probable, since, people didn't work for somebody else until the Industrial Revolution, really. Or that there is something there where you could pull resources with family members to do some sort of investing or start a business. So it's really interesting that you're still in this same energy. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Venus is making a semi-sextile to Pluto. So there is some things where you can make more money over this next 2 weeks, but it requires looking at some details, looking at some small things. Maybe there's some tweaks on your sales process that you need to do, or tweaks in the language you're using for marketing, or maybe you need to look at some, diversifying into some smaller investments to, like taking a tiny portion of your money and doing something that might be considered more risky, but something you believe in. So, but making some small changes could make you more money over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so the sun's making a conjunction to Pluto. You have a stronger opportunity right now to get a raise than you have had in a long time, not to mention that the full moon is happening in that house. So this says, if you've been thinking about asking for a raise, it's time to go ask. See if you can at least get your supervisor to sit down to set up a date for talking about the raise, or ask them, sit down with them and say, with all the changes that are going on, what should be my track now for getting a raise? So, and asking that way could get them to say, yeah, you're overdue. We need to give you a raise. Okay, Scorpio, you are doing this full moon right at the top of the chart. That means you are very noticeable at this time, which is wonderful if you're looking for a job or you're looking for love or you want to be seen. Like even if you're putting out social media, you're more likely to be seen right now over this next 2 weeks. Now, at the same time, this full moon is doing that exact inconjunct to Saturn in your house of creativity, in that house of self-expression. And that's where you may be feeling inhibited. You might say, yes, I want to put some stuff out there, but what do I do? And you have to push through the hesitation, the nervousness about it. You may have even received some brief success in the past, and now you're hesitating because you have a fear of success as opposed to the fear of failure. So the looking at it, and actually, with Saturn, don't even look at it. Just go do it. You have to sit down and do the creative work, and that's then you can go out and put it out there in the world, and that can lead to the fanfare. The other thing that this could be is that you're doing really well at your job, but you don't like your job. And you want to do something that's more fun, more creative, but you don't know what that is. And you need to sit down and take some time and explore what it is that you enjoy doing and how you might be able to monetize that. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Pluto's making a sextile to Neptune, but now it's out of sign. And that means that you need to look differently at how you're going about the whole love relationship process. So if you've been doing online dating, maybe it's time to consider a matchmaker or let your mother fix you up. Maybe this is time to look at somebody you considered in the past, but you passed up. So think about what you could do differently. And, even ask yourself some of those questions of, if I couldn't do any of the things I have been doing, what could I still do? Or what would be the exact opposite of what I'm doing now? And do that thing. So this says do something different. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making a semi-sextile to Pluto. That means to look at the details, to strengthen your relationship, and that's specifically in the area of communication. If there is something that you are saying over and over and your partner is not hearing it or not understanding it, look at saying it a different way. Look at different words that you could use or a different expression, or maybe talk to them at a different time. You could significantly, I'm in such a hurry, I forgot a few syllables. You could significantly improve your relationship with this semi-sextile. I know it's a minor aspect, but it can be so useful, and I've given this example before. It's kind of like when you're on a hike and you're starting to get a blister, you need to stop and take care of that, because otherwise, by the time you finish the hike, you could be completely debilitated. Instead, you take care of it, and then things are significantly better. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Jupiter in your house of relationships. It's making a connection to Saturn, as well as a lovely trine to Venus. So a lot of the work you've been doing, because you've had you've had Jupiter going through your house of connections and other people for a while. And you've probably been reaching out and maybe trying some direct messages and, interacting with your audience or colleagues that you used to work for. Now it's starting to pay off. Now's the time to reach back out to people and say, remember, we were going to have lunch and talk about this, or, you said we could do a collaboration. Let's do that. So this is a time where you can make stuff like that happen. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, you're making about the same as usual. Mercury is not making an aspect with Jupiter. They're in harmonious signs, but they're not really talking to each other at the moment. So things are going along as usual. And so keep it up, and the bigger paydays are coming down the road. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that's like a paycheck, you have similar energy here. You've got some harmonious stuff, but it's not quite lining up. So it's more likely that your supervisor is going to say, hey, let's talk about this next month. If they say April is a really tumultuous month. We'll be talking about April very soon. We got eclipses, we got Mercury retrograde, and we have a conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus. So it's going to be a heck of a time. So if they bump you to April, try and get March. That would be better. Okay, Sagittarius, you guys are doing this full moon in your house of knowledge and spiritual connection and philosophy and travel, basically all your favorite things. And so there's such a pull to do these things, maybe to take more classes or to jump on an airplane and go to Iceland or Belize or someplace like that. And yet you're doing that exact inconjunct to Saturn, which is at the base of your chart, that says you have responsibilities at home. There is something that is keeping you there. And so, and you can't do both at once. You can't be in Belize and at home at the same time. And so it's necessary right now to figure out a way to split up your time, and so that you can take care of your home obligations. And I would suggest you do that first, and then put a boundary on it, and then take off to parts unknown. So that's where you're doing this inconjunct energy over this next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mars is not making an aspect with Jupiter. Now, the full moon is elevated, but the rest of the planets are below the horizon. So even if you're out in the world, you're seen, but you don't seem to be seeing them. And so people may be asking you out and you're not noticing, or you're just not in a place right now where you're really truly looking. And so if that's the case, then just give it a break for 2 weeks and then wait until this energy lines up in the future. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury's not making an aspect with Jupiter, and you do have that exact inconjunct down in your house of home and family. So if you're living with your partner, the energy is that you have to look at how you can be a responsible partner, how you can fulfill your obligations as a partner. On the other hand, because there is no aspect going on, you can't have them work on it. You can't, because you're not coming together to work on a problem together. So you can make some shifts and be in the relationship more fully. But if you want them to work with you, then you have to wait until this aspect lines up in the future. Now, when it comes to your money, you have, first of all, a great money house. You've got Venus, Mercury, and Mars there. Plus, you're pulling energy from Saturn, which is doing that exact inconjunct to the moon, which, I've been kind of bad-mouthing this whole time, but it is an aspect, which means that some of the things you've been working on now can start bringing you actual money to prove that they are viable. So this is a time to do some tests and say, all right, I'm going to launch this. Maybe it's a soft launch. Maybe it's just a little test marketing, like a little A/B test or something. This is a time to actually say, what am I making from this? Is it worth the effort? And then expanding in the areas where it is worth the effort. Now, when it comes to money from business or from your investments, it's that moon inconjunct Saturn, which means that it's likely all right, let me do the bad news first. Bad news is there is some adjustments that you have to make. There's some changes you have to make. But if you do, there is a paycheck. There is something there that's going to bring you more money. So that might be shifting some investments or doing something about the business differently. Maybe it is just, sometimes in business, we can get caught up so much in things that are back office or, just the marketing ideas, when in actuality, what we need to do is face to face with the customers. So shifting to something that might be hard to do or uncomfortable to do or unpleasant to do, doing those things, that can bring you the bigger paycheck right now. And I don't mean paycheck from a career, because I'm going to talk about that next. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so like a paycheck, and then I forgot to check, Venus is making a sextile to Saturn. Yay. So that's much, much easier. So you have a full house of money. You've got a nice aspect. This is a perfect time to ask for a raise. This is a perfect time to negotiate for a higher salary if you're looking for a job. You have really good energy here, but it's a sextile, which means you need to initiate it. They're not going to come to you. Okay, Capricorn, you're doing this full moon, lighting up your house of resources. That means that there are more opportunities for you gaining money or gaining help or getting the information that you need. This is also the area of intimacy where you could get closer to someone and understand where they're coming from, where you're coming from. That could be for a love relationship, but it also could be for a business partnership. Now, this is making that exact inconjunct to Saturn in your house of contracts and agreements and, basic communication. And so a lot of what it is you want to accomplish in this area needs maybe a contract. Maybe you want to have something in writing, or maybe you just need to state what it is that you want and hear what they want to have happen so that you can see if you're on the same page. Or maybe you need to come together and do some brainstorming of ideas before you run off and expend resources doing investments or anything. So this is, because it's an inconjunct, you can't do both. You have to stop, maybe thinking about the business, or we're actually working on the business, and go think about the business and go do the ideas about the business and then go implement those things and so forth. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, you've got a really nice chart because Venus and Mercury and Mars are in your own sign. Plus, Venus is making a sextile to Saturn. So you really could connect with somebody who you feel a connection with, that you feel understands you, that you feel has something to offer, and that your life could be better with that person. So don't miss opportunities right now to get out into the world. The thing that's the biggest challenge is that you are kind of hiding a little bit. You're not as visible as usual. And so it's time to, get out into the world more, to accept invitations and to go meet new people. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the moon's making an exact inconjunct to Saturn. So this is your opportunity to work out something. Now, the challenge is that it is an inconjunct, which means that the energies are so divergent that it's hard for you to understand your partner's point of view unless you consciously say, how are they seeing the situation? Or why are they using those particular words or that particular phrase? Or why are they continuing to do this? What in their world makes this make sense? So you actually have to step out of your own world and be in their world, and you could solve a major problem between the two of you and end up in a happier, more loving relationship. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Uranus, which is in your house of creativity and, exploring, a little bit of risk-taking, but also that Saturn, which is so active in this chart. And so this is indicating that there is some energy about having the idea and looking at how to implement it. Maybe you've already, because Saturn's been going through this house of ideas for a long time. Maybe now you have a whole book filled with ideas. Now perhaps it's time to say, if I was going to implement this in the next 2 weeks, how would I go about it? Or maybe this is something you've been working on for a while. So maybe this is some sort of soft launch that you want to do just to a limited amount of people, just to do a little bit of test marketing. So you have some really good opportunities. The sun is in a house of money for you. The moon is in a house of money for you. And this Saturn is connecting to both of them. So this could mean some real opportunities for you over the next 2 weeks. Now, all of that said, when we look at money derived from business as well as your investments, the sun's not making the aspect to Uranus yet. It's making the aspect, of course, to the co-ruler Saturn, but not Uranus yet. So I think you'll make it a little bit more than usual, but what's more likely is you're implementing bigger things, and these will give you a bigger payday down the road. And that bigger payday is definitely coming. So you want to make sure that you got all the little ducks in a row, that you are ready for when this happens. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, you also have some good energy here. Saturn's making a semi-sextile to Pluto, which is now in a money house for you, and the full moon is money houses. So I think that this could be a good time to ask for a raise. Now, it is possible, because Pluto is in a new sign, that they're going to say, well, things are very different. But you can approach them and say, yeah, but I'm ready for different. I'm ready for something new. I want to expand into a new area. So, or at least approach the meeting already knowing that your company is going to invest in some new technologies. And so you're ready to answer these questions, and you could end up making more money than usual over this next 2 weeks. Okay, Aquarius, you're doing this full moon energy in your house of relationships, partnerships, collaboration. And so you want to be out there and meeting people, and you can make connections with, like exciting, interesting people. And that would be really, really fun. And at the same time, you're making that inconjunct to Saturn in your house of money, of, nose to the grindstone, or feeling like you don't have the resources to go out and do the fun things that you want to do. And so this energy needs to be split up because you can't not combine them right now. And so that might mean that you are very focused and very frugal up until a certain point, and then you give yourself a budget, but you do go out and do something fun. And that way you meet people and you connect and stuff like that. So it's trying to find a balance between the two of those. The other side of this is that you want to meet these new people, but maybe you're not feeling like you're successful enough. And that's why you're doing that Saturn in that house of money. And so to recognize that by managing your money, by taking care of it, you can grow your money and then feel like you're ready to, be on the yacht with these other people or whatever. So, but this is more about your own attitudes of deserving and self-worth that need to be corrected. Even less so than how much money you're making, is that you feel that you're worthy. And so that's this dynamic that you're doing this time. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, this full moon is in a relationship houses, plus Mercury is making a lovely trine to Uranus. You have more of an opportunity now to meet someone for a love relationship than you have in a long time. So get out of the house, be seen, don't hide, don't be on the wall and, not interacting with people. Go out there. If somebody has casually mention they'd like to go out with you, say yes during this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, even though the sun's not making an aspect with Uranus, this full moon is lighting up your houses of relationship, and that's fantastic. So it looks like the two of you are getting along very well, that you're being seen as to other people as that you're doing well. And so other people may come to you and say what they admire about your relationship that can help you remember that, there are some great parts of your relationship that you want to really capitalize on. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the Neptune in your house of money, of course, Jupiter at the base of your chart. And you also have Saturn in your house of money, and Saturn figures very prominently in this chart. And so it's very much this time about doing the Saturn. Like, do the Saturn, and remember, the Saturn is the hard work. The Saturn's running up the mountain so that you are stronger every single day. So like every day you have to try to get to the top of the mountain, and you might slide back and you might say, oh, I spent too much, or I shouldn't have spent on this, or I had an opportunity to make more money and I didn't grab it. So, but work on those things. And as Saturn travels through your house of money, it is a slow growth wealth aspect. And so it can help build your portfolio, your wealth in general, but it takes work. You got to run up the mountain. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Mercury's not making an aspect with Neptune. And so it's likely you're making about the same as usual. Mercury is in your hidden house. You may be working on other things. You might be working behind the scenes, investigating some of the new different investment opportunities that are out there. But it looks like you're making about the same as usual over the next 2 weeks. And then when it comes to money derived from career, so that's like a paycheck, Jupiter's not making an aspect with Neptune. And because, I shouldn't say that. You are highlighted. There's a relationship energy that's very strong, and that includes business relationship, but they may not be seeing all the things you're doing. So the thing to do during this 2-week period is to remind your boss of all of the contributions that you're making on a regular basis, all the things that, your name should be prominently on. Put your name on things, tell people what you're doing. This is planting the seeds for a raise later. Okay, Pisces, you're doing this full moon energy, lighting up your house of routines and health and well-being, and you may be really exploring these areas in your life. Maybe you've started meditating again, or you're cooking at home, or you have a great personal trainer, and all of this is doing inconjunct to Saturn that is right in your own sign of Pisces, where you have self-doubt, where you feel like it is such hard work, and that you feel like you're not doing as well as other people. And I'm going to tell you, you have to stop comparing yourself to other people. You can compare yourself to your own past, but don't compare yourself to other people, because they're on a totally different journey. They have a different body type. They have different parents. They have, everything is different, And so I know we're told that we're supposed to compare ourselves, but we can't. And so this says, go do the things that you're enjoying, like the yoga and the meditation and all of that help your health, but then come back and say, how am I doing compared to where I was a year ago or a month ago or last week? And that's going to help you improve. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the moon's not making an aspect with Neptune. And this, where this full moon is and all of that, it's more about work and routines and solving problems. And so you could meet someone for a friendship during this time. And if you do, that might morph into a love relationship, but probably not over this 2 weeks. So just go have a good time with friends. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury's not making an aspect with Neptune. And so, again, there's things seem to be moving along as they have been, because you're supposed to be working on yourself and your self-confidence and how you're presenting yourself rather than the relationship itself. This energy will line up in the future, but right now it's just work on your own stuff, let them work on their stuff, and you can come together later. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Mars, which is really interesting. It's in your house of innovation and technology and community. And so you have so many different opportunities right now. Get into some sort of networking. Go out on LinkedIn and connect with people that way. Look at how technology could be leveraged to help you. And there's so many innovations right now. And find people who might be meeting as a group who are going to be talking about how to leverage technology. This is also a good time to go over the different goals that you had starting at the beginning of January and say, okay, we're getting ready for new opportunities. So am I sticking with my goals? Am I, following the things that I want to do? So that's where your money opportunities are for the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Mars is not making an aspect with Venus, which means you're making about the same as usual. You do have Mars and Venus in a money house, but it's mostly derived from career. So it looks like you could be looking at some opportunities that will bring you a bigger payday. And these two energies are going to line up pretty soon. But over the next 2 weeks, you're making about the same as usual. And then when it comes to money derived from career, which I already hinted about, even though Mars is not making an aspect with Saturn, Mars is in this house, Venus is in this house, Mercury is in this house, you have some really great energy for getting a raise. Now, the issue is the sun is hidden because you are basically a month away from your Pisces time. So that means you have to remind your boss of all the things you've been doing, put your name on things, show the world what you've been accomplishing, and then you could make more money in your career over this next 2 weeks through a bonus, a raise, or some sort of increase. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe and check out my new video course, Finding the Hidden Money in Your Chart. There's a link in the description. I'll see you in the next video.